Cancorla, I think that Mr Malloy has done the honourable thing by offering his resignation. I'm sure that was a difficult decision for him, and I want to wish him well. From time to time, we do get, when things go wrong, we do get resignations of senior public servants. However, what we do not get, particularly from Fianna Fáil in government, is any resignation by ministers, or indeed any sense that there is ministerial accountability. For example, the amount of money spent on electronic votings was 100 times what was spent in these expenses in Fas, and we've had no ministerial resignation or accountability to this House for it. What we do get, and the Taoiseach gave it to us again here this morning, is this idea, something goes wrong in a state agency. Well, that has nothing to do with ministers, and the minister will investigate, and there'll be a report to government, and then it disappears into the air somewhere. So let me remind the House, Cancorla, how this works. The state agency, whether it's Fas or any other state agency, is accountable to the minister, and the minister is accountable to the people of Ireland for the spending of taxpayers' money through this House. Now, in respect of Fas, there is ministerial responsibility. The Labour Services Act of 1987 states specifically that the remuneration of staff in Fas and the expenses of staff in Fas have to be approved by the Minister and the Minister for Finance, for both the staff of Fas and for the board of Fas. It's in Section 7 of the Labour Services Act, and again in the schedule to that Act, and indeed there's a provision in that Act that gives the Minister the power to give directions to Fas in respect of expenditure and on specific items. So let's be clear about this. The expenses the Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment has responsibility for the expenses regime which applied in Fas, because the Minister has to approve it. Now, we've had 3 Ministers for Enterprise, Trade and Employment over the period of time in question. The Taoiseach, Minister Coughlin, and I acknowledge she's only there for a short period of time, Minister Martin and Minister Harney. So what I want to ask you, Taoiseach, is this. Did the Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment approve the expenses regime which it was applying in Fas and which some of the staff and top people in Fas benefit from? Because I heard Mr Malloy on radio on Monday say that these arrangements were entitlements. I want to know, did the Minister approve them? And if the Minister didn't approve them, then I want an explanation from the Taoiseach as to why 3 ministers, or whichever minister is responsible here, is negligent in his or her duty in overseeing this organisation as the Minister is required to do. This isn't Fas isn't a free agent out there. Fas is responsible to the Minister. The Minister has to approve the expenses regime, and the Minister is accountable and answerable to this House for that approval. And I want answerability on that today, Cancorla.
Deputy Gilmore, without interruption.
Well, the Taoiseach's answer is not good enough at all. I mean, you know, the taxpayer who has to pay for this, you know, telling them about circular letter this and circular letter that, I'm afraid is not an adequate answer. The Act, Taoiseach, the Act which was passed by the Oireachtas, representatives of the people, which set up Fas, says, without any doubt or ambiguity about it, that it is the job of the Minister to approve the expenses regime in Fas. That's what it says. Let me read it to you. It says, such remuneration and allowances for expenses incurred by him, that's any member of staff, as on Forest or subsidiary as the case may be, with the consent of the Minister and the Minister for Finance. So it's explicitly clear that the approval of expenses regimes in Fas, as established by this Act, is the job of the Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment. Direct question, Taoiseach. Did the Minister approve travel by first class by staff, senior executives of Fas? Has that been approved by the Minister? Because this is the Minister's job, Taoiseach. This isn't a matter of Fas deciding this of its own volition. The arrangement for expenses, remuneration in Fas is a matter for which the Minister has responsibility. Now, I want to know, A, was it approved by the Minister? And B, if it wasn't approved by the Minister, what have a succession of ministers in that department been doing over the 11 years that your government has been in office?